So good morning. My name is Sean Parr from Calytrix Technologies, and today I'm going to be giving a demonstration of the CNR family of products, predominantly for our resellers and for internal use. What I have in front of me today is a standard CNR demonstration setup. If we look across the table, we've got two computers, the standard core i5 Intel computers, and we're running CNR Sim version 5 and VBS 3. You'll note on the right hand computer we've got a pair of external speakers connected, and that'll allow us to hear the CNR discussion. We have a small Windows tablet, and that's running CNR skins. In the middle we have our CNR live box, and we'll be able to demonstrate the use of walkie-talkies or radios to distribute sound. And here on my screen we've got a CNR side tone, which we'll be using for environmental noise effects today. So that's the standard hardware setup, nothing special, and of course we've got them connected via a small local area network, disconnected from the internet. So that is our setup for today. Okay, welcome back. Look, in this first part of the demonstration I'm going to introduce the core features of CNR. Fundamentally, CNR is a radio simulator, and we use the DIS protocol, or voice over DIS. So look, very first demonstration, as you'd expect, I've got two computers both running CNR, and you'd expect that I can just speak with another player. I'm going to use the push to talk button on CNR side tone during this demonstration. This is a base radio check. 1, 2, 3. A little bit of echo because I've got the speakers, but it's good because everyone can hear what I'm saying. So obviously I'm broadcasting on one computer and it's coming out the speakers of the second computer. Look, one of the core capabilities of CNR is the fact it is a radio simulator, and I can set up multiple channels. Very quick demonstration. Look, if I was just to jump up a different channel and rebroadcast, as you'd expect, that other radio won't pick me up anymore. This is a radio test to no one. Thank you. Come back to my original radio station. Radio check. Now, again, one of the core competencies is our ability to set up any number of radio channels. We drop down the config page of CNR and we go to team or channel configuration. And what we can see here is some configuration. We can set up any number of teams, and each team can have any number of radio nets. Now, you might set up CNR for a classroom where you describe the class as your team and all your participants as radio channels, so you can follow them. Or you might set up your tactical radio nets, one of the most essential planning pieces when you go and run an exercise, and then you would put all your channels in there. So again, we can set up unlimited numbers of channels. One of the other things we can do, which is required, is our ability to just type in a frequency. So we can use this number pad, type in the frequency and jump to that. One of the things that's used increasingly, particularly on modern digital radios, is the ability to have a chat function between them, used very extensively in command training. Hello world, and of course anybody listening to that channel will also get the chat message. We're going to be talking about today a lot about the integration of secondary sounds into the broadcast, and we're going to start with static sound files. I have the ability to just broadcast a sound over a radio channel. So let me quickly do that. It's going to be music. Now, the application here, of course, is that the CNR administrator is able to broadcast a pre-recorded static WAV file at any time to stimulate the audience, or through the API of the system you're able to inject or run sound files as required for your game. So that's the ability to run a static file from beginning to end when you need. One of the other abilities we have, of course, is to be able to integrate static files into the actual broadcast itself. So let's just jump into CNR, one of the CNR degradation effects. What I'll do is I'll just pick a file, and again, any WAV file can be mixed in, and I'm going to go with, oops, I've just basically loaded up the file Angry Mob. I'll go OK. Now, unlike that first static file which played from beginning to end, this file will be mixed in with my voice when I speak. This is the static Angry Mob, and as you can hear as I speak, I'm now mixed in with that WAV file. Now, look, mixing in sounds like that is very important for creating situational awareness. As you could hear, I was now standing within an angry mob, and that could be heard. It could have just as easily been gunfire, or rotor noise from a helicopter, or any static file I wanted. One of the other applications, is to simulate electronic warfare, electronic attack. So all I've now done is loaded up an electronic warfare, electronic attack jamming signal. Now normally this would be broadcast all the time, but imagine your administrator turned it on, and now radio sounds something like this. This is that test. So pretty good electronic warfare attack, because now the radios are rendered useless and I have to practice different procedures. I'm going to turn that off for the rest of this demonstration, I think. But what we've demonstrated there is our ability to play a static file over a radio network, or to integrate that static radio file into my own voice. So look, that's probably a pretty good introduction to the base capabilities of CNR. Okay, in support of CNR come a number of tools. What I'm going to do first, let's just minimize that out of the way. I'm going to run CNR log. Now, CNR log allows us to record all radio traffic over the network. So regardless if it's on the computers, on the real radios, on the tablets, everything will be recorded. So let's start by taking a session, create a new session. Video take 1, optimism, and I'll hit the record button. So what I'm now doing is recording a new session for CNR log. This is a radio test, 1, 2, 3. This is a radio test, 1, 2, 3. And look, as you'd expect, what we can see on CNR log is it's starting to record every transmission. I can also come in, and I won't do it, but I can also come in and add filters. So I can filter on the timestamp. Every audio file has got a timestamp, radio name, frequency name, etc. So I'm actually able to, over a large session, very quickly find the audio I might want, and you can then export that audio to WAV file or replay it over the radio network. And the importance of this, predominantly in after-action review, many of the mistakes in training occur in the radio communications and what people said, and this allows us to actually play them back as lessons learned. So there's no more that he said, she said. We can actually go and play the audio. CNR log, like everything in CNR, has a full API, and so CNR log can be connected with your own system, and using the API you can play the audio directly from log. For example, in the VBS product, CNR log is used behind the after action review system to play the radio traffic. So it's a very capable tool. What we're going to do for the rest of the demonstration is we're going to leave CNR log running, and we will rapidly capture many activities. The other tool which is very useful is CNR monitor. We'll just run that. Now CNR monitor is designed for your CNR administrator. And what you can see at the moment is I've only got 2 instances of CNR running, my computer and the other computer. But they get listed here. I can quickly look at their status. Test 1, 2, 3. But one of the core features of CNR monitor is our ability to configure a room full of computers very quickly. So you imagine I've got 2 radios here. Imagine if I've got 100 or 150 radios. What I'm able to do in CNR monitor is group them up very quickly and pass configuration files to them. There's a number of ways it can be done. One of the other things we can do is we can jump to any radio on the network. So I'm looking at this radio called Steve, which is that machine over there, and I can see its status, I can see the radio it is on, and I can change various aspects of that radio, including some of those sound degradation effects. So I could turn things on and off. Let's just do a very simple demonstration. I'm going to turn that radio off. There's a shortcut here. And what we can see is I've now turned that remote radio off. I might want to do that in training to stimulate that student to work out when the radio actually stopped working and to go through a fault finding process of returning it on. I could have changed their channel, I could have done all sorts of things. Let's just turn their radio back on. And again, the idea there is a systems administrator has the ability to rapidly configure all the radios on the network and make changes to stimulate the training audience. So a very good tool for managing an entire network. And we'll just minimize that. So there we have it, CNR log and CNR monitor. Very useful for helping with the product. Okay, so one of the other major things we need to do with the radio communications is actually simulate radio degradation, and for that we use CNR effects. So what we can see here is in the virtual world, to demonstrate the capability, we're both standing in what's called the forward operating base, and myself and my virtual colleague are about 1 meter or 2 apart. So let's do a radio check. This is a radio check. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you'd expect, because we're right next to each other, crystal clear communications. What I'm going to do in the virtual world is teleport. So now what I've done is I've moved to another location on my map, many kilometers away, and we'll just now do a quick broadcast. This is a radio check. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you could start to hear, there's a bit more static in the radio connection. And let's move a long way away. And you can see from the lay of the land on my virtual sim, I'm also behind a hill, and that's going to impact. This is a radio check. 1, 2, 3, 4. And while I'm audible during that conversation, obviously as I move further away or further behind the hill, the audio is going to disappear. So what CNR Effects is able to do is integrate a number of aspects of the simulation to change the radio degradation. I'm able to use line of sight, so I can look at the terrain, distance between points, the radio type, UHF, VHF and the channels, the radio power and the antenna type. And what the system does is take all of those factors and change the radio degradation. Interestingly, of course, if there was lots of people in the room, if we had 50 people using CNR effects, because we're all in different locations, every receiver will hear a different effect. So CNR effect is sitting there for each receiver, doing the calculations and making sure that the radio communications sounds as realistic as possible. And that's really important because of course you don't have crystal clear comms all the time in real world. Okay, we've just finished having a quick look at CNR effects and how it uses the terrain and everything else to create a realistic radio signal. One of the other aspects we want to look at is environmental noise. So let's have a look at what I mean. I will teleport again, and what we can now see is I'm flying in a helicopter over my terrain. The great thing you'd notice, of course, is I'm flying over the base. You just saw me, so I'm very close to forward operating base. Let's put a radio call through. This is a radio test. 1, 2, 3. So, clear comms, of course, because I'm right over the base. But of course, what we can see on the screen is there's rotor wash occurring in real time. So what we can do is use CNR side tone, start to merge in environmental noise and create a better result. Let's have a listen. This is a radio test of environmental noise, and I'll just quickly bring that in. And now what you can hear is my voice is what's happening. So what we've been able to do in that example is take the dynamic or live noise, in this case coming from VBS, merge it in with the radio noise to greatly increase our situational awareness. And again, unlike earlier at the beginning where we were mixing in static pre-recorded wave files, what we're doing this time is we're taking the actual noise from VBS and merging that in to create far more realistic audio. So that combined with CNR effects allows us to create a very realistic radio environment. Okay, so what we've been doing so far is looking at virtual radios. One of the other components of the CNR family is CNR Live. And what it allows us to do is connect real radios up into the virtual. We can see a CNR Live box here. And as you can see, we can plug up to 4 real radios into the front. And we can see that's just connected via a cable. As well as one military headset, which you can also use. So in effect, this radio here is acting as a rebroadcaster. Anything I say through this radio will be picked up by this radio and transmitted back onto the CNR network. We'll have a look at that, and as I speak into this radio, what you'll hear is the sound come through the speakers just as normal, and of course you'd expect CNR log to also trigger. Let's give it a go. This is a radio check. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what we could see is what I just said over the radio came straight through and onto the CNR backbone. And then likewise, if I was to broadcast back, you probably can't hear it, but it will come through this speaker as well. This is a radio check. 1, 2, 3, 4, over. And it did come through this speaker, and we could see by the broadcast light on the front of CNR Live. So not only are we able to integrate real radios, one of the other interesting features is, well, I only have one radio plugged in, I can plug up to 4, and even if they're different types of radios or working on different channels, I can bridge them and get 2 different radios speaking as well, or 4. So that is the CNR Live product, and again it's the integration of that live radio into your virtual radios. Okay, so the final piece of software I wanted to quickly talk about was CNR Skins. What CNR Skins allows us to build is very realistic radio interfaces. These might be used for basic operator training, more advanced classrooms, or to put more realism into your simulator, such as on a touchscreen inside a tank simulator. If we have a quick look here, it's not a mouse, it's a walkie-talkie. If we have a quick look, what you can see here is I've got CNR Sim running. And in order to use this, I need to be able to turn the radio on and operate as if it was a real radio. The system allows us to have a number of different interfaces, and we can build pretty much any radio interface at whatever level is required. So for example, I could bring up a very old radio interface. And again, I'd need to know how to turn the radio on, adjust my frequency, etc., etc. to make that radio work. Another example of CNR Skins is here on this little Windows 8 tablet. This particular tablet is one we've rolled out to a customer. 400 of these have gone out to the customer to allow them to do basic radio training of a new radio they're bringing into service. So if you think about real radios at $40,000 each and all the security concerns which come with them, the ability to allow a student to learn 80 to 95% of their basic operator training on a touch screen is far more attractive than using real radios, which are quite often just not available. CNR Skins, as I said, we can program up basic interfaces in 2 to 3 weeks, and very advanced ones like this one in 30 to 40 days, and these will go right down into all the menus and the features of the real radio. CNR Skins is again an application on top of our API, so either we can create new skins, or in your own simulator and systems you're able to build your own CNR product. That's probably a pretty good summary of all the products. Again, one of the key things to take away is it is a family of products. We have a solution for almost every radio requirement. And the other major point is CNR Sim has a full software development kit, or API. Almost all the software you saw today, including Monitor and Skins, even CNR Live, is all running on top of that base CNR API, and that is made available even in all our versions of CNR. So look, that's a good summary, and I'll thank you for watching and hope you found this useful. Thank you.